Thanks for tuning into the Urban Scope podcast. We got more NIL drama for you. The University of Virginia coach Tony Bennett, he resigned from at the age of 55 after leading a successful program with the University of Virginia. It's another story that just seems like sour grapes to me. I reported about this before in regards to why Nick Saban left the NCAA and his gripes about the NIL and player motivations and, players having these financial goals and not worrying about the winning of the team, which, if the team's not winning, he doesn't get paid. So, that's ulterior motive, I feel, from the coach's standpoint as well. But when Tony, when Bennett stepped down, I was like thinking to myself, I was like, wait a minute, he's only 55 and he stepped down and his program is growing. Why is he leaving? So as I read through the article from ESPN, he said, he wants his players to get paid, but he thinks the direction is wrong. So he kind of like double talked himself. He just kind of like, well, I want the players to get paid, but I want, I don't want them to lose sight of the goal. So basically he was, trying to sum up like, well, I want players to get paid, but I don't. Because, sometimes these coaches don't make more than what their top player might be making through NIL. But like I said, it's just short-minded and short-thoughted of just, these coaches coming out. Like Nick Saban said, he claimed he didn't leave for the NIL deals, but he always gripes about the NIL. Like he just did it like a couple months ago when he said that he was talking to Pat McAfee and he said, well, if you're paying $20 million for a roster in reference to Ohio State, if you're paying the wrong people, then you still, SOL, stuff out of luck. So he still has a gripe about the NIL and he claims he just wants the league to be better. But I think he's just started to see that teams were getting better than him because they were paying players, which essentially Alabama has always done. But it's been under the table, allegedly. But, once these coaches have so much dominance for so many years and when other teams catch up to their program, they kind of get, they get upset about it. But don't get upset when the game catches up to you and you didn't evolve. NIL shouldn't do anything. Like I said, Alabama has much money and boosters and alumni than anybody else to go get the best players. They just were seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and felt like they were going to get priced out the game. But, Nick Saban's not the only person. Dabo Swinney from Clemson, he did the same thing. He threatened to leave due to NIL, but he's still there. His team is not as successful as it used to be because, like I said, the NIL did change some things. But like I said, Clemson has the same amount of boosters, or if not, the same amount of boosters than anybody else and alumni to be able to play these players. And like I said, they just need to evolve with the game. Because, like I said, I always say this, adaptation is the key to survival. You have to be able to evolve with the times. Things are changing every day. And if you don't get with it, you'll get lost. So you can't complain about technology. Like a lot of people say, oh, well, I'm not built that way. Well, you got to figure it out. Like everything's technology now. Soon there won't be any analog or anything else that you're used to. You have to change. Society grows, and in order to grow, you have to evolve and learn new things, which these coaches are mostly stuck in their ways. And like I said, it's a good old boys club as far as this coaching tree goes, because a lot of coaches were upset with Deion Sanders being able to get Travis Hunter. He was able to get, a high recruit at a low school, at a school that was not low school, sorry, at a school that was seen lesser than at Jackson State. And a lot of coaches are still upset with Coach Sanders about that. And, they're taking it out on the system and they're taking it out on Deion Sanders. Now, his own son played for him, but him to get Travis, Hunter, a lot of coaches were upset about that. And they were saying he was paying them and all this stuff. And this was before NIL. But what happens to, a player that just want to go to a school and build his brand and not being able to being backed by a school and being able to go his own route? They didn't consider that things, before the integration, most of the players went to HBCUs because we couldn't go to the PWIs and things like that. So, like I said, these coaches are just having gripes about stuff that everybody has to deal with, and they just have to be able to adapt and be able to learn new things and be patient with the system and work through it. Like I said, Nick Saban has all of these national championships, and he became very impatient with the system, and every year he had some gripe with the system, where it had been NIL or some kind of recruiting camps or these satellite camps that they used to have. And most players, some players you just won't be able to get. There's a pipeline. Some players want to stay close to home. Some players don't want to play in Alabama. Like I said, Alabama is not like California. No insult to Alabama, but some players want to just play in California or Texas or some of these other states that don't have state income tax as well. So when they do get the NIL, they don't have to break it down with two different, with the federal and the state. So you have to think about that as well. Just don't put it all on just, somebody was better recruited than you. Sometimes they're in better states and they're in better situations. So yeah, that was just my thoughts on this NIL thing. Like I said, I'll probably continue to report on it because every other month there's something somebody, a coach or announcer or some kind of pundit has some kind of, you know, discrepancy about the NIL. And at this point, I just think that, everybody just need to, just let the system play out and let it adopt. Now, the NIL does, need to set standards um, for how they're paying these players. Because like I said, it's Wild Wild West out there now. So they do have to do that. And there's been talk about the NIL being standardized for positions, kind of like similar to what the NFL does. And when they do that, it'll be more organized, and then there won't be much discussion, and there won't be these negotiations. Everything will be set. So, for a quarterback, you make this much. A running back, you make this much. For a cornerback, you make this much. So once they get that system down, I think it'll be better for everybody, and there will be less complaints about the system. So I look forward to seeing that in the near future, hopefully. So tell me what are your thoughts about the NIL and where you think the NIL needs to go, what they need to do, what rules they need to implement. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of the Urban Scope Podcast.